Genshin Impact is full of amazing scenery, some of which we get to freely explore, and others were meant to only gaze at from afar. Meant to. Not that it's ever stopped me or other tenacious players. Let's pull back the curtain on some of these areas, to take a look at places you are not meant to see in Teyvat, and, quite possibly, some you never even knew existed. Number 1. The Shogun's Arena. The Raiden Shogun's Plain of Euthymia, a story-exclusive domain where the player battles her during the Inazuma Archon quest. It's one of the coolest boss domains in the game, and like most of them, you and the boss are confined to a tiny circular arena because barriers. Except, we can climb over them. And, prior to version 2.1, the Shogun could follow players out. A cool battle and a cool, unique, not flat, landscape. This is how all bosses should be. It remains high on my list of top out-of-bounds locations in Genshin. That ominous blood moon in the background? It's paper thin. The scattered torii gates? Wow, that is bright. During the final showdown with the Shogun, the place transforms. We're able to explore this version as well. No longer ominous, with the dreary colors and blood moon gone, it's a far more magical place. This only changes the atmosphere, the layout remaining completely the same, yet, somehow, those torii gates are even more blinding. My eyes! Not yours though, you're welcome, because I placed a dark layer over this while editing. Number 2. Sunny Seirai Island. Seirai Island is Inazuma's most unique landscape. It's trapped in perpetual dawn and blanketed by thick storm clouds. Even when the island's quests are completed and the storm cleared, dawn and overcast remain. But did you know there's a secret version of Seirai Island where this isn't the case? It's hidden within the 5th act of Sumeru's Archon quest, when the player has control of Trial Nilou, and is only accessible with glitches. In this version, the overcast is clear and the island experiences a normal day and night cycle. During daytime, the scenery is like a pastel wonderland. It's similar to Watasumi Island in that regard, but even more so. Remnants of the storm remain as animations baked into the terrain itself, so the island still flickers and glows. This is much more evident at night. This version of Seirai Island does not have a storm barrier. There is also no water sealing the underground ruins. The differences you're seeing here aren't limited to Seirai Island. In this version of Teyvat, changes like these apply across the world. If you're interested in seeing everything, you can check out my Nilou's World series. We've more Inazuma to see. To be precise, more Seirai Island, because... Number 3. Seirai Island's Storm. Now that we've seen a bright, sunny, happy Seirai Island, let's revisit the normal gloomy one and pull back the curtain on its most iconic feature, the storm, by flying up into it. Once high enough, the vortex blinks out of existence, leaving behind this rather imposing, and honestly quite unnerving, dark void. Let's check it out! I let this sit for a while, but not much more changed with the storm, other than being able to distinguish between what layers of it remained. Eventually, I imagine the whole thing would simply vanish. Number 4. Enkanomiya's Sealed Library. Do you remember Enkanomiya? That strange, ethereal world beneath Watasumi Island? It has to be the game's most forgotten area. Correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think the place has been utilized for anything since version 2.5, where they released an alternate version of the map as a limited time event. Tucked away in the library there is a peculiar mirror that requires completion of a quest chain to activate, wherein it will appear to change the room. What really happens is that the player is teleported incredibly far away to a duplicate room. That room's location on the map? Far, far above the cavern ceiling of Enkanomiya. How far? Let's time the drop, at 2x speed in consideration of time. Obviously, players are never meant to know the Mirror Library's location. Outside of the amazing view, there is one other thing up here. When you solve the puzzle, a Seelie appears to travel through the mirror. The player follows it, and then it goes to its court in the original library. The game is tricking you, because what actually happens is that the Seelie continues through the wall, where it goes to a court on the outside corner. A flag is then set that spawns a second Seelie back in the original library, that the player then follows to complete the puzzle. Number 5. This last entry is a special place for me, somewhere I always seem to find myself back at. A large stretch of land separating Inazuma from the rest of Teyvat, the Inazuma Trench. How large? If we only measure the area within the Paimon barrier, the edges of the map that Paimon turns you around at, then it's about the size of Inazuma before the islands of Watatsumi, Seirai, and Tsurumi were added. If we include beyond the Paimon barrier, then yeah, it's enormous. Within the trench is a vast plain of perfectly flat land. Although the plain isn't exactly plain, it's quite colorful. So colorful that it's mysterious. Strange stripes of different terrain like so. They even go up the incline that leads to Jinren Island. The intersection of 4 different, completely flat terrains. What was all of this used for? Why was it left in the game? It's easy to think that it's something the developers used for a reason unknown to us, and then just forgot about. But they've actually updated this place over the years. The first was when they modified the land north of Jinren Island, changing it to a downward slope that reached as low as the trench. The second was when they added a flag to remove the storm barrier after completion of the Raiden Shogun's Act 2 story quest. If one braves the trench before then, they'll get to have fun trying to dodge homing lightning strikes that fire off every other second. The third was when they removed the teleportation on the trench's surface. Prior to Sumeru's release, touching the surface teleported the player away. That said, this one probably has nothing to do with a dev changing the trench. I've long presumed it's because Sumeru released a bunch of underground caves that made the devs lower the void out zone across Teyvat. That's the Inazuma Trench, a place I once thoroughly deconstructed to get my traveler only account into Inazuma at adventure rank 7. Good times. Do make sure to subscribe, and this is Moosashi signing off. Till next time.